When the 2022 F1 season came to an end, 4 drivers competed in their final races with their respective teams. When the teams reconvene in Bahrain for the start of the 2023 season, however, 4 drivers won't be racing at all. To see which drivers will ultimately return to the sport, and also get a glimpse of the top F2 drivers to keep your eye on in 2023, stay with us. All that and more coming up. First up, who's staying and who's going, and why. Sebastian Vettel is a 4-time world champ, and he's the only driver of Ford that'll be leaving F1 out of his own accord. Mick Schumacher, Daniel Ricciardo, and Nicholas Latifi all want to keep racing in F1, but none of them have found a home yet, and there are only 20 seats available in the 2023 season. There is a silver lining though. While their names will not feature in the opening round in Bahrain next year, it doesn't mean their careers are over, and Nico Hülkenberg is also back, a remarkable 2023 return considering his last full racing season was in 2019. So, we've lost 4 names this offseason, which begs the question, who has the best shot at returning in the future? Curious about Daniel Ricciardo? Well, you have reason to be. We'll bring you an update in a moment. Don't go away. Now, let's look at Nicholas Latifi's chances. Latifi spent 3 seasons with Williams. He's now parting ways with the team that gave him his Grand Prix debut back in 2020. Okay, so his Formula 1 tenure was unspectacular, and that's probably being kind. He had a hard time making finishes for minor points and just couldn't seem to get off the back of the grid. In the 3 seasons we saw him on the track, Latifi finished numbers 21, 17, and 20 in the Drivers' Championship. He was outscored by teammates Alexander Albon and George Russell by a full 20 points to 9. Judging by his on-track performance, Latifi may not be an obvious candidate for a second F1 chance. But, and here's the big but, he has substantial financial backing. He brings Canadian sponsor Sofina Foods to the table, and you guessed it, the owner and CEO of Sofina Foods is Latifi's dad. Also, Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo is heading into the off-season in 2022 with a dark shadow hanging over his F1 future, and this would have seemed completely unfathomable less than 24 months ago. He consistently underperformed for McLaren for 2 seasons, especially compared to teammate Lando Norris. This is what made McLaren decide to cut bait and bail on the 3-year contract they had with Ricciardo with 1 season still left. Gunther Steiner, the Haas team principal, apparently reached out to Ricciardo to measure his interest in racing with them in 2023, but according to F1 insiders, Ricciardo didn't return Steiner's calls. He seems perfectly content to sit out 2023 instead of grasping for any available seat that could keep him on the grid. He'll fulfill 3rd driver duties for Red Bull and hope the 2024 season opens a racing seat for him. If a team does decide to give Ricciardo a driving seat for 2023, the question is which driver they'll get. It could be the Ricciardo who stood toe-to-toe with Max Verstappen while they were at Red Bull. It could also be the Ricciardo who won the 8 Grand Prix. But for the same money, it could be the Ricciardo who struggled to find a solution for his sluggish pace for 2 seasons. So, is Sebastian Vettel really going to call it a day? He says so, but not everyone believes him. Not even Lewis Hamilton. Stay with us. We're about to bring you the lowdown. Then, Mick Schumacher. Schumacher is the least experienced driver on this list, and also the youngest. He has plenty of time ahead in his career to reclaim a spot on the F1 grid, more so than any of the other 3 drivers. Schumacher got into F1 with Haas after winning the 2020 F2 championship and remained doomed to the back end of the grid while the team developed the 2022 car. When the season kicked off, Haas leaped to points scoring contention from the very back of the field, but it was Magnussen who recorded all the top 10 finishes. Schumacher struggled to get the most out of his car and had big crashes in Monaco and Jeddah on his 2022 journey. While there were true flashes of brilliance at Silverstone and the Red Bull Ring during the mid-season, those were the only points Schumacher scored. Thus, Haas opted for Nico Hülkenberg's experience as Schumacher's replacement for the 2023 season. Schumacher's not giving up though. The paddock is full of his admirers, and the Mercedes team principal, Toto Wolff, is keeping an eye on him. Mattia Binotto, who is still technically affiliated with Ferrari, also said they would sit down with Schumacher in the offseason to discuss his future. And face it, he has a surname that will help him along. Okay, so what about Sebastian Vettel? Vettel ended his F1 career on his terms, and not many drivers get to do that. The 4-time champion Vettel is 35 years old and has called an end to one of the most successful careers of all time in Formula 1 history. It's important to understand Formula 1 retirements are not necessarily cast in stone. Felipe Massa, who waved goodbye in 2016, spent 2017 with Williams, shepherding the team through the season after Nico Rosberg retired and Mercedes snatched Bottas. At the end of 2018, Fernando Alonso also retired. He went on to chase a triple crown and win Le Mans, and then returned to F1 while he was on the cusp of 40. Jenson Button also came back for the 2017 Monaco race to allow Alonso to have a run on the Indy 500. This after Button ended his career in 2016. Vettel has made it clear he would be interested in competing in one-off races outside of F1. His longtime rival and friend, Lewis Hamilton, has said he's sure Vettel will make a world championship comeback in the not-too-distant future. If that happens, Vettel may actually reach the 200 Grand Prix milestone. There's an astonishing amount of talent coming through from Formula 2. We're going to tell you who to look out for in the 2023 season, so keep watching. That's coming up in a moment. Now, a peek into the world of Formula 2. Currently, F2 is groaning under the weight of new talent. This is where the best juniors in the world get to show what they can do behind the wheel. And in F2, the prying eyes of the Formula 1 teams are always there. Theo Pourchaire is one driver to watch. He has a definite claim to an F1 seat. The only question is when. Pourchaire has proven himself as one of the fastest in Art Grand Prix and is a single point off second in the driver's standings in F2. It's his second year in the series, and he's already held up 2 winners' trophies. And he has a string of successes behind him, regardless of his age. In 2020, he took on Oscar Piastri in Formula 3 and finished only 3 points behind the Aussie. And if you consider Piastri's masterful performance in F2 last season, this is no mean feat. His killer instinct in on-track combat makes Pourchaire one of the most charismatic competitors in wheel-to-wheel racing on the track today. And that's exactly the kind of grit that F1 teams are looking for. His affiliation with Alfa Romeo, through the Sauber Academy, makes it most likely that he'll reach Formula 1. He was picked up by the Sauber program in 2019, and this opened a perfect pathway to F1 for the young driver. He's earmarked to step into an Alfa Romeo as soon as a seat opens up. Then, keep an eye on Dennis Hauger. This young man is the 2021 Formula 3 champ, and he hit the ground running this season. His pace has been excellent. He had to fill a high-pressure seat for Prima Racing, something not everybody would have been able to do as well as he eventually did. He won in Monaco in May, and he is systematically turning an unlucky season start into a Formula 1 path. The Monaco win places his name on the top of the 2023 talent list. He crashed in Imola's feature race and the Baku sprint race, so his points tally doesn't truly represent his talent. His ability to recover from Baku and claim feature race victory catapulted him to 5th place at the time. And finally, Felipe Drugovich is a must-watch. Drugovich is being touted as the next big Brazilian driver. It's a predictable choice for this video, but it was made with good reason. Drugovich is currently a free agent, and one with astonishing pace. He has consistency and a raging fire in his belly. In 2022, MP Motorsport picked up a piece of pure gold when the Brazilian switched from Uni Virtuosi. He'd picked up 4 victories already, and this includes the breathtaking back-to-back Barcelona sweep. Drugovich is at home at the top of the standings, and he's comfortably ahead, 40 points, of Pourchaire. It's amazing to watch this driver, even when he's not in top form. He's not fazed by tough races, and his scoring is consistent. This will definitely shine the F1 spotlight on him. He continues to prove his wheel-to-wheel combat worth and manages to extract raw pace from his car, even in high-pressure situations. 2022 was an exciting F1 season, but 2023 promises to be even more thrilling. With all the new talent coming through, the sport is about to level up. And with that, we come to the end of this video. Please hit the like button and remember to keep an eye out for our next upload.